We are ready for the witness. Martyrdom is the most beautiful and sweetest thing that if a person attains it. Don't erase the martyrdom of Sardar Soleimani from memories. His martyrdom made him live forever. Don't erase the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. His martyrdom and his blood remain in all generations.
The president of Iran has just threatened total war. Any aggression against the supreme leader will be considered total war. And at the same time, the president of the Iranian parliament admitted something that the regime never wanted to say out loud. The only way to survive is by starting a bigger war. But while the regime threatens the world, something happened on Sunday night, something that shows their true desperation. Iranians turned on their televisions. The internet had been blocked for more than 12 days. The regime thought it had silenced everyone, that it had total control. But then they saw this. Hackers broke into Iranian state television, not just one channel, but multiple different channels. And when people tried to change the channel, the message was everywhere. The Islamic regime is collapsing. Long live Iran, death to the dictator. Then something unexpected happened. Reza Pahlavi, son of the former Shah, appeared and addressed the armed forces, urging them to stand down, stop shooting at people, and oppose the regime. Now stop and think. The internet was blocked, total surveillance. Even so they managed, but how did they manage to do it so well? What we're going to show you next will surprise you, because this hack wasn't just an isolated act, it's part of something much bigger. And to understand the true meaning of these threats of total war, you need to see what's happening right now inside Iran. Keep watching because we're going to explain every detail. First, let's talk about this threat. What exactly is the regime proposing? The president of the Iranian parliament was very specific, very detailed, and when you listen to his words, you notice something. He said, "We know that we are facing a war where the goal is to remove us from power, and the only way to win is by making our threats real." The threats that during the 12-day war between Israel and Iran last June were ready but were not carried out. Let me translate that for you. They are saying, let's attack the Persian Gulf. Let's bomb the oil fields of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. Let's attack the refineries, the export ports, the plants that turn seawater into drinking water and keep those cities alive. And it won't be quick. It will last for months. Missiles, constant attacks without stopping, until the price of oil skyrockets, until the world economy goes into panic. And they're presenting this as a winning strategy. But military analysts are seeing something different. Because when a government says that the only way to survive is through war, they're not showing strength, they're showing desperation. Think with me. The regime is publicly admitting that it has lost the support of its own people, that it is facing an internal war. So what they do is, they blackmail the whole world, saying if you take us down, we'll take everyone down with us. We'll blow up the Persian Gulf, we'll make oil shoot up to $200 a barrel, we'll cause a global recession. This isn't a threat, it's a confession, and some people are truly terrified by it. The Gulf countries, I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, Qatar. They want the end of the Iranian regime. They've wanted that for decades, but now they're terrified. Because a desperate regime, a regime that feels the noose around its neck, can really do that. It can fire hundreds of missiles at their oil fields, at their cities, in a final act of revenge. Gulf leaders are making frantic calls to Washington. They're asking the United States to be careful not to push Iran to the point of total collapse. Because they know their oil facilities, their water plants, their cities are in the line of fire, and there are already signs that they take this seriously. Recently, American officials began leaving the Al Udeid air base in Qatar. The reason is these direct Iranian threats. This shows how vulnerable these countries are. Israel also sees the danger if Iran
makes mistakes.
But Israel responds differently. Benjamin Netanyahu went to the Israeli parliament and said something very clear. If Iran attacks us, we will respond with a force they have never experienced.
But let's go to another place for a moment.
The future of Iran is uncertain, but one thing is guaranteed. Iran will not go back to what it was before. And what about the United States? Well, Trump has already signaled the change. In an interview, he said, "It's time for new leadership in Iran." This represents a complete shift from a more restrained stance to one that actively supports regime change. But while the regime makes these grand threats to the outside world, the truth is that internally they are losing control. Remember the state television hack we discussed earlier? Let's revisit it. After all, how is it possible to hack multiple television channels with the internet completely blocked? The answer has a name you probably know: Starlink, Elon Musk's satellite internet. I'm talking about small satellite terminals smuggled into Iran. They completely bypass the government's internet control. They don't rely on cables, they don't rely on towers, they just need a view of the sky, and through these terminals, the resistance not only hacked state television, they're leaking videos of the massacre to the outside world. The regime built what they thought was a perfect digital wall. 12 days of total blackout, 80 million people without internet, without communication. But technology found a loophole, and that has huge implications, because the regime depended on one thing: controlling the narrative, hiding the truth about the digital massacre, 16,000 people, keeping the world in the dark. Now, the truth is leaking out, the world is watching, and that's fueling international pressure. Iranians living outside the country are seeing what happened and are mobilizing. The wall has fallen. And there's something else that shows the regime's absolute desperation. They are charging money for the bodies. Families are being charged by the government. If you want your child's body back, you have to pay. And when they finally get the body back, they are forced to sign a contract. The contract says, no public funeral, no outsiders, only a private, discreet, and silent burial. And do you know why the regime is so terrified of funerals? Because in Iran, funerals have real political power. There is a tradition called Arbaeen, 40 days after a death, when families and communities gather to mourn together. It's a sacred ceremony, respected for centuries. And when you have 16,000 to 20,000 dead, you know what that means. In the coming weeks, there will be Arbaeens happening all over Iran, thousands of them simultaneously. And the regime remembers what happened in 1979, 1900,
3089.
And when funerals turned into protests, when protests led to more deaths, when more deaths led to more funerals. A self-perpetuating cycle, a cycle that toppled the T. They're trying to break this cycle before it starts. But you can't extort every family, you can't suppress every Arbaeen, you can't secretly bury 16,000 people. The truth is, the cycle has already begun, and there's a man behind all of this, a man you need to know. Ali Larijani. He is the Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, and he is the architect, the planner, the man who designed the massacre of January 8th and 9th. Larijani studied history. Specifically, he studied Tiananmen Square in 1989. He analyzed how the Chinese government crushed the protests, killed hundreds or thousands of people, and terrorized the population into silence. And then, years later, they opened up the economy and China remained in power. This is Larijani's plan for Iran. Massacre, terrorize, wait, and then liberalize the economy just enough for people to forget. A Chinese-style reset. Larijani genuinely believes in this. He believes that the Islamic regime is the best future for Iran, that there is no better way to govern the country. But there's an irony so absurd it seems fictional. His daughter lives in the United States with an American visa. Consider this. The man responsible for massacring tens of thousands of Iranians who attends official events chanting, "Death to America." This man sends his daughter to live in the United States, protected by the country he claims to hate. And it's not just him, it's a pattern. Russian elites do the same thing. They go on state television talking about how evil the West is, how dangerous NATO is, while their children study in London, live in Paris, work in New York. They don't believe in their own propaganda, they just use it to control those who believe in them. And now activists are demanding something. Deport the relatives of Iranian officials living in the United States because the hypocrisy is unbearable. But let's get to what really matters. What happens now? The regime made a huge gamble. It massacred tens of thousands, blocked the internet, and extorted families. And now it's threatening to drag the entire region into a war that could collapse the global economy. But three things will determine whether they survive or fall. First are the security forces. So far, the Revolutionary Guard and the Basiji militias, paramilitary forces known for suppressing protests, have remained loyal. They have shown that they are willing to kill thousands of their own people as long as these main forces remain united. The regime still controls the streets, but cracks are starting to show. The regular Iranian army, the Artesh, is different from the Revolutionary Guard. They are less ideological, more professional, and there are signs that some officers are uncomfortable. And there's another problem: money. The economy is in freefall. If the regime loses the ability to pay salaries, even the Revolutionary Guard might start to question things. Soldiers with families going hungry are soldiers who think twice before shooting. The second thing is the funerals. 40 days after the massacre, that means mid-February, that's when the Arbaeens really begin. Mass mourning ceremonies all over the country. At the same time, if these ceremonies turn into protests, if the protests lead to more deaths, if more deaths lead to more funerals, the cycle becomes unstoppable. The regime's suppression only legitimizes the resistance. And third thing, the factor that can transform everything instantly. Khamenei, the supreme leader, is 86 years old. He is an elderly and frail man, and if he dies during this crisis, everything changes because there is no successor. Of course, there will be a brutal power struggle between factions of the elite, and power struggles destroy unity. Without unity among the elite, the regime collapses. So the regime is at a dead end where every move makes the situation worse. If they try to rearm, Israel will probably react. If they don't rearm, they lose deterrence power. If they massacre more people, they fuel the cycle of protests. If they retreat, they show fatal weakness. If they attack the Persian Gulf as threatened, they risk an international response that could destroy them in weeks. Each of these doors leads to the same place: collapse. The threat of total war is not a show of strength. It's the last card of a player who knows he's losing. Now I'd like your opinion. Do you think Iran will really carry out this threat and attack the Persian Gulf? Or is this just pure bluff from a regime that knows it has already lost? Leave your answer in the comments. If this content helped you understand what's going on, share it with someone and subscribe to the channel to follow the next developments of this crisis. Until the next video.